Today I'll teach you how to create a radio button in Java AWT using Visual Studio Code environment. So what is a radio button? A radio button is a graphical user interface element that lets users select one option from a set of related but mutually exclusive options. So you have a set of options. In that you can select only one option. If one is selected, the other options will be getting deselected. Suppose, for example, you want to have a gender, male and female. So either one we need to select. So if I select male, the female get deselected. If I select female, the male get disconnected. So like that, you have some options for a number of applications where you can see the radio buttons are allowing us only to select one option from a group of options. Now, what is the appearance of the radio button? So radio buttons are usually small circles or dots that can be filled in or highlighted when selected. You can see the appearance here. You have an option A, option B, option C, and option D. So once the option A is selected, the other three are automatically deselected. If I select option B, option A, C, and D get selected. If I select option D, the other three get deselected. So only one option from the group need to be selected. Now coming to the usage of the radio buttons are often used in online forms, preference settings, survey questions, and mobile application. Now these are few areas where the radio buttons are being used. Now radio buttons are always used in groups only, and only one radio button can be selected at a time within a group. Now coming to the selection, radio buttons can be selected by clicking the mouse on the button or its caption or by using a keyboard shortcut. So I was showing some image where you have option A, option B, option C, and option D. There you can just click the option and select. Otherwise, you have an option for going for a shortcut key so that you can just select a particular button. Now coming to the Java, we don't have any radio button class in AWT, Abstract Window Toolkit. So what is the alternative way for creating a radio button is, we need to convert checkbox where we have a checkbox class, and that particular class we need to use and we need to convert into a radio button. So in order to do that, we have one extra class what we need to take. Here is CheckboxGroup along with the checkbox class. A CheckboxGroup class is used to create a set of mutually exclusive checkboxes in which one and only one checkbox in the group can be checked at any one time. So you have a group of checkboxes, and in the checkbox, we need to select only one. So here we are trying to convert the checkboxes to a radio button, but I need to use a class called CheckboxGroup. If you don't use this CheckboxGroup class, then the normal checkboxes will be displayed where you can go for multiple selection again. But whenever you want a radio button concept in AWT, since we don't have radio button class directly, we need to use an additional class called CheckboxGroup, and this object should be passed as a parameter for a checkbox constructor. And once you do like that, all the buttons, all the checkbox are forming as a group, and only one particular checkbox need to be selected. But the representation will be changed. We don't get any square boxes. Once we apply this checkbox group as a parameter for checkbox, it will convert it into a radio button. The representation also will be changed. Now these checkboxes are often called as radio buttons in AWT. After conversion, after applying this checkbox group parameter as a to the checkbox constructor, then that will be acting as a radio buttons. Checkbox groups are objects of type checkbox group. Now this is a class name. You can see I've written the class name here. So we need to apply this and we need to pass this object to the checkbox constructor. Now, here we have only one constructor of this particular class called checkbox group. So I need to write checkbox group class, then object name is initialized with new for memory allocation, and you're calling it default constructor. We don't have any parameter constructors, only one constructor is available. Only the default constructor is defined, which creates an empty group. So here this is called a default constructor because I'm not passing any parameter. Now we'll see what are the methods of checkbox group class. So the first one is set selected checkbox. Now this method is used to set a checkbox in a group. We are converting a checkbox to a radio button. So when you see the representation of this, you will get a radio button only. Since we are taking the checkbox constructor, here we are labeling it as checkbox. Now what is the syntax? So void set selected checkbox. And you are giving the reference of the particular checkbox which you want to select. So whenever you want to just make the particular radio button to be highlighted, by default when you execute your application, I can write this method. Or later on also you want to just go for selecting a radio button, you can apply this method, set selected checkbox, and give the reference of the particular checkbox object. Now if you want to just determine which checkbox in a group is currently selected, so I need to go for get selected checkbox method. Get selected checkbox method. Now that is going to return whatever the radio button you have been selected, no, that will be written. So don't get confused, because here we need to obviously use a checkbox class only. So the return type is also a checkbox, and the method names also are get selected checkbox and set selected checkbox. But still, these particular things are working on radio button, because I'm passing a checkbox group object as a parameter for checkbox class. Now I'll show you the demonstration of creating a radio button in Java AWT using VS Code environment. So you need to open the Visual Studio Code environment. Now this is the environment for the Visual Studio Code. You need to have the separate software. And whenever you are going for Java program, so just save in one folder, and you need to just write out the program. So already I've mentioned how to create a folder in my previous videos. So just you can check that videos for reference. Now here, this is a program for creating a radio button, creating a group of radio buttons. Now here we are going for AWT package, abstract window toolkit. Then we are going for event package, because we are going for event handling application. That means whenever you click a radio button, item event is generated. And we need to work out with the item listener. So I've clearly explained event handling in Java in my previous video. You can refer the event handling concept in that. And since I'm using the apt programming, so I need to go for java.apt package also importing. So these are the three packages. Now, public class, the class name, then it is extending applet, that is the applet window, and implements the item listener, because item event is generated. So we need to work out with the item listener. Now we're taking empty message, where you can see string with a empty message. I'm not writing anything here. And we are creating a checkbox reference, this line. Checkbox is a predefined class. This WinXP, Win7, Solaris, and Macintosh are 4 reference variables, because I want to just create some operating system related radio buttons. So I'm naming it as WinXP, Windows 7, Solaris, and Mac. These are the reference variables. And this is most important for us now. Checkbox group class is available, and CBG is the reference variable. So the reference variables can be anything, but don't change the class name. So here the checkbox class we are using, and inside that we are passing this CBG object. Then only the checkbox are converted into a radio button. Now in the init method, you can see this line. We are creating an object of checkbox group, like we are creating a reference here. No, for that you are converting that reference variable to object by applying new operator where memory is allocated. Now you are calling a default constructor of this group. So this object is created. Now this checkbox group object need to be passed as a parameter here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here this line, if you can see one line, let's suppose I'm taking checkbox WinXP. You can see here WinXP initialized with new checkbox, and the 3 parameter constructor we are using for checkbox. Like first one is the label, what you can see on the screen, like you get a radio button with the Windows XP. Then the second one, here you are passing the CBG, that is checkbox group object. If you pass this checkbox group object only, then the checkbox get converted into radio button. That statement you need to keep in mind. Then here you need to where you are writing true, that is status, true or false. That means whenever you execute your application, by default, the Windows XP gets selected and the rest of the things you can see false. Similarly, for Windows 7, the label you are going to get is Windows 7 and the CBG object you need to pass. Then only the checkbox is converted into radio button. Then we are mentioning false. Then here Solaris. So this will be visible on screen. And again, checkbox is converted into radio button by using CBG object. Then still it is false. Then similarly Mac. Then again the same checkbox constructor. The label what is seen on the screen is going to Mac OS. Then convert the checkbox into radio button by using CBG object and false. So among these 4 radio buttons, obviously only one need to be true. So I'm making one true, the rest of the things will be false. And add this all these objects what you created to the container applet window. Now since every radio button, when you select or deselect, item event is generated. So I need to add the item listener, or I need to register the item listener by using this method. So for WinXP object, I'm calling add item listener of this. This represents a current object. That means this item listener is only for Windows XP. Similarly, 4 are radio buttons. So individually, I need to register the item listener for 4 buttons. So I can say Win7 object.add item listener, Solaris.add item listener, Mac.add item. So 4 radio buttons were created. Individually, I'm trying to register the item listener for 4 radio buttons. Now, whenever you click a particular button, the item listener is getting notified, and inside the item listener we have one abstract method called item state change. Now this is one of the abstract method. This is the only abstract method in item listener, and we need to implement that compulsorily. So you can see the method name is item state changed, and what type of event it is handling, the item event it is handling. So when you select a radio button or deselect a radio button, the item event get generated. That will be notified to item listener. Item listener will be implementing the item state change method, which is holding the item event. Now here what we are doing is we are calling simply a repaint method. Now repaint method is going to call this paint method, this one. And the paint method is holding one graphics class from AWT. And here you can see this top message what we have kept empty now that we are using now. Message is initialized with current selection. So you keep in double quotes means will print as it is. Current selection. Then what you have selected I want. So already I was showing some method now. Get selected checkbox method you need to apply. So CBG dot get selected checkbox method dot get label. So get label implies what? These are labels, right? So whichever button you suppose I select this particular button, you get this label as an output. Suppose I select second one, this label I want to get the output. So here you need to apply CBG. CBG is an object for checkbox group. Inside that we have a method called get selected checkbox method dot get label, which is going to extract this selected button's label. Okay, and that label is concatenated with the message. So already message is holding current selection, and it's concatenated with the label whatever you have been selected, and that will print in the drawstring method. Now the drawstring method is basically used to print some data onto the applet window or the browser. So I'm passing that as the first parameter. Then where you want to print, you need to give the x coordinate and y coordinate you need to mention. So here as of this we are printing we are giving x as 6 and y as 100. So the intersection point of these two, 6 by 100, the message first character will be starting printing. So we'll see the output. Just save this and go for a terminal, new terminal, and go to the folder where you have saved. So in my system, I have saved in the subfolder Java VS 23. Then you compile first cbgroup.java. And before this, you need to understand one more thing. This comment is most important for us. This one, like applet code equal to CB group. Now the same thing you need to write this one. Don't write any extension like .java, not .class, because once you compile, you get a .class file, and at the runtime, the applet viewer, that's applet viewer exe, will be calling this CB group.class file. Then what is the width of the applet window? What is the height of the applet window you need to mention? Then close the applet tag. Now, since this applet tag is not part of your Java, you need to put in a comment. And at the runtime, the applet viewer is going to only read this particular comment. and it is going to execute this particular file. Okay, so here I'm compiling first Java C class name.java. Now there is no error. Then you type applet viewer. To run the applets, we require applet viewer CB group. Again, you need to put .java. Don't put class on. Don't put. That means you don't write anything. Means it's a problem. So when you write the CB group.java, then it is going to read this applet tag from the .java program and call this class file. Same class file, right? Then you press enter here. When you press enter, so you are getting a button. So you can just maximize otherwise. Okay, now here you can see by default I was putting true for a Windows XP. So you get a small dot here. Okay, and you got here current selection Windows XP. Suppose now you can just observe here how it is changing. When I click Windows 7, you get Windows 7 there. Here in the message, just click Windows 7. Get Windows 7. If I click Solaris, you get Solaris here. You get Macintosh. You get Macintosh. And one more thing you need to observe here is only one selection is possible. The other get deselected. Suppose here Mac OS has been there. The other three got deselected. Suppose I select Windows 7. Now this Mac OS is deselected. So in either point of time, only one button is getting selected. Now the representation of this is radio button, but still we are using a checkbox class only. And in checkbox class, giving we are giving the checkbox group object. Now if you don't give this one, no, here you don't write the CBG, that is checkbox group object. Again, you are going to get only checkboxes only you are going to get. So the checkbox group object is converting the checkbox to a radio button, and it is been only selecting one button at a time. Okay, so I hope I have given some input on how to work with radio buttons, and I've shown the demonstration also with Visual Studio Code. So if you like this video, please subscribe and share it to your friends. Thank you.